I'm Jelaila, and it's time for another update. And today we're going to talk about something that seems to be on a lot of people's minds lately, and that is this whole thing about parallel realities, dimensional splitting that now more and more channels are picking up information about. And some are picking up there's going to be two-dimensional realities, some are picking up more. So I just kind of wanted to clarify that for you, because I know it can be very, very confusing, especially as we move forward to 2012. So here's what I understand, and I'm taking this from my Countdown to 2012 workshop. It's a little segment I talk about the 4 parallel worlds. As I understand it, at 2012, we are going to, our planet is going to experience, well, we're going to move through a field of energy that is emanating from the core of the of our galaxy, called a galactic superwave. It's coming out of the black hole. It's very high pro-evolutionary energy, and it spreads out across the equatorial plane. Well, every 13,000 years, as we progress around the galaxy, our solar system does, we will cross the galactic equator twice, once every 13,000 years. As we move this time across the galactic equator, and we're coming up on it very, very quickly, it's at the end of 2012. That's really what that whole thing is about. We cross at the end of 2012. When that occurs, we will move to that field of energy. Now, what happens when you move through a field of energy like that? Well, because it is vibrating at a much faster speed than we are currently, and of course everything is energy. You know, this water bottle is energy. It vibrates at a certain frequency. This calendar vibrates at a certain frequency. Whatever that frequency is, we're able to see it as this physical thing. You and I vibrate at different frequencies. Everything is frequency. So when in physics one frequency that is lower comes into contact with one that is higher, the higher one will pull the lower one up. It does not, the lower one does not pull the higher one down. That does not happen. So when we cross the galactic equator and we move to this field of energy, whatever we are at that moment will rise to the frequency of that field of energy. When that happens, we will manifest differently, but everything inside of us will manifest differently as well. So whatever we're carrying with us, emotional baggage, joy, happiness, all that will manifest as our new reality. Now you do that on a collective level with a whole planet, and what you end up with is a splitting of sorts, where people at one level of consciousness will manifest a whole new reality based on that level, and then this other group over here that's maybe vibrating at this level will manifest into their reality. So you have like you have various versions of Earth that will manifest. Now, as I understand it, collectively we have 4 dimensions of consciousness on the planet, 4 that are really moving toward that totally physical state where they have their own version of Earth. You have 3D, of course, which is already in place. You have 4D, which is the people who are moving out of fundamental religion, third-dimensional consciousness, or moving toward the whole love and the light thing. And in a way, they're kind of polarizing out to one extreme because they're eschewing the dark. And they're very much into ascended masters and angels and spirituality, and that's great. You know, that's a step up. Okay. Now, the next level up, as I understand it, is 5D consciousness. And 5D consciousness, they begin to realize that, wait a minute, there's not just angels out there beyond 3D, that we have a galactic neighborhood, and we have brothers and sisters, we have galactic neighbors living on other planets, running around in ships, and we are all connected. So they move, their consciousness shifts upward a little bit more. And they realize that not everything out there is hunky-dory, and that the same problems that exist on Earth exist out there, as above, so below, and that part of the reason that we're here is to work on those. Okay, so that's a much bigger, more broader expansion of consciousness, because they've gone from there's only humans to realizing there's all these different species in the galaxy. And then, as I understand, there's a ninth dimensional level of consciousness on the planet that was begun as of 9/11, 2001, when enough people decided, you know what, we're not going to do what we did back at the time of Pearl Harbor. We're not going to, even though our government and in the United States, our president wanted us to start this whole war on terrorism, a lot of people go, wait a minute. It was just too convenient to point out who the bad guy was. It's like they pulled that guy out very quick. So they began to realize that there's something going on behind the scenes. But beyond that, they begin to realize that maybe we need to start looking at taking responsibility for something we might have done to cause this problem. Bottom line is, we developed a consciousness of compassion based on both sides are culpable. Everything has a value. Taking full responsibility for everything that we create. And at the same time, when we get to that point, the things that we saw back when we were very 3D that made us choose to leave that level of consciousness, we began to see some value in that as well, because at the ninth dimensional level, everything has a value, everything has a purpose. At that level, you integrate, you see the light, you see the dark, and you realize that each one has equal value. And it's not about right or wrong anymore. It's not about good or evil. It's about we are all souls growing through this process of creating versions of reality that are light and dark, and learning to see the purpose and the value of both. So as we move towards 2012, these dimensional splits are already beginning to happen. I mean, think about how many people that you used to hang out with that you no longer hang out with because you just had, it's not that you don't like them, it's like you just had nothing to talk about. Well, as we move forward, we're going to see more and more people joining together to some degree on a physical level, but more so on the internet. We're going to be congregating together with people of like mind. So our levels of consciousness are becoming more and more emphasized because we're starting to group together and manifest realities based on our shared beliefs. As we get closer and closer to 2012, that's going to become more and more predominant. And then at 2012, when we cross that equator, those four levels are going to split into their own parallel versions of Earth. So I hope this explanation helps you understand the road between now and 2012 and the dimensional separation that is going on, and will complete itself once we cross the galactic equator at the end of 2012. So one last thing, there is still a couple of seats left for the Emotional Clearing Workshop coming up this week, and my Father's Day special in honor of my father, where I give you $25 off of any one of my counseling sessions, is still going on between now and June 21st. You just have to arrange it by June 21st. All right, so talk to you next week. Have a great one. Bye-bye.